Hey everybody, welcome back to Simple Astrology. My name is Tara and I'm happy to be here talking again about one of the basic astrology archetypes. We are almost halfway around the wheel. We've reached Virgo. In the last Simple Astrology video on Leo, we talked about the need to make something of ourselves, to express ourselves. And let's just back up a little bit. Let's just back up to the quadrant we're in. So the quadrant being Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. It's the second quadrant in the zodiac, and it's about subjective awareness of others. All three of those signs, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, are about learning about myself through the experience of others. Seeing how others affect me, how what others do and say feels to me, how others receive or respond to what I do, but it's still subjective awareness. Okay, so with Cancer, it's really about what am I made of? What's in my heart and in my bones and in my soul? Who am I? My private sense of self. And we talked in the Cancer video about forming the self-identity, consciously forming, this is me. And then we move into Leo, and Leo is about making something of myself. With Cancer, as the beginning of a quadrant, it's a cardinal sign, meaning it initiates something. And in this case, it initiates the self-image. It initiates the formation of the self. It initiates the private identity. It initiates the ego me in this life, consciously though. And then we move into Leo, a fixed sign. Fixed signs about bringing value, meaning, and purpose, about stabilizing, about securing, really anchoring and rooting and growing and doing something with whatever energy was initiated. So if Cancer is what I'm made of, and Leo is making use of what I am and who I am, sharing myself with the world, showing that I have value, showing that what I can create and what I contribute has value, then we move into the third sign of this little triad, into Virgo, and we're now into mutable territory. Mutability meaning time to get ready for a change, because after this mutable sign, we're going to initiate something new again. So all mutable signs are about getting relative perspective, learning about, hey, what did I just do? What was it good for? What does it mean? And in this case, it's all me, right? So I sort of, if I did my process in a healthy way, I defined my edges of who and what I am. And I started testing myself out in the world to see how I could put myself out there, what I can make, what I can do. And I maybe have become very attached to it, right? Leo is a fixed sign. The previous sign, there can be a lot of attachment to love, praise, and attention, and also just attention to being seen the way I want to be seen. Again, this is subjective territory. So, I want you to see me the way I think I look good. That can be a very Leo type of thing. So we move into mutable Virgo, and it's all about learning what that was good for, and also how we need to tweak it, how we need to refine it, because mutable signs and mutability in general is about either things ending or things transforming, making room for changes, making room for shifts and adjustments so we can move into the next, in this case, domain of consciousness, which is what I learned and what I like to call signs, right? So with Virgo, we can think of it this way, right? And every sign is a reaction to the previous sign. So if you just think about this, Leo being linked with royalty, being linked with the king, the queen, the red carpet being, rolled out in front of us, the link to I am a special self. And we can think of Leo as being the top of the pyramid, having reached in some respects, the biggest, fullest expression of what I can be just on my own. And we know that none of these things operate in a vacuum, but I'm trying to really hone in on the archetype if it was just on its own, which none of the signs are. So take that with a grain of salt. But Leo, in some respects, top of the pyramid. You know, I've reached the peak of my magnificence. And then all of a sudden we come to Virgo, and that pyramid inverts, and we have to learn to serve. We have to learn to be in a position of service, right? And that is a very different orientation than everywhere I go. On some level, even subconsciously with Leo, there's a feeling that people should know who I am. They should know that I'm special. They should be giving me the special treatment. And Virgo, all of a sudden, we react actually to our own inflated ego. The thing is, like, as I talked about in the Leo video, it's its job to like see how big it can be. But in Virgo now we recognize, okay, here's where I went overboard. Here's where I really wasn't seeing things clearly. Here's where I failed to recognize that other people are just as special as I am. And I got carried away with myself. So there can be some of that reaction with Virgo, which if we take it too far with Virgo, can be very self-critical, can be very self-punishing, can be very, how could I do that? That was so terrible of me. Or, well, how could I think I was so, you know, who did I think I was, you know, doing whatever it was that I did? Or there can be embarrassment, there can be levels of humiliation. But the thing is, that's not the point here. The point with Virgo is healthy humility. You know, it's the preparation point, it's the transition point from the lower hemisphere of subjective awareness into the upper hemisphere of the zodiac, into objective awareness, where we can actually, for the first time with Libra, meet someone as an equal. Not equal as being the same, equal as in recognizing that I am different, or maybe I have a different opinion, or I have a different look, or I have a different energy, I have a different idea than you or than that. But there's equality between those differences. You know, it's actually like when you reach the Virgo point, I mean, it's linked with puberty, it's linked with adolescence, because we literally are growing up into an adult. We're growing up into seeing life from a more equal, honest, accurate perspective. Here's the thing about Virgo. Virgo gets linked with purity oftentimes. And we even talk about Virgo sometimes is very, can obsess. Virgo can be the biggest control freak. I don't have planets in Virgo, but I have Pluto in the 6th house. So I'm speaking of myself here too. Very much so. The Virgo can want to control the environment, because in controlling the environment, whether that's work or home or my physical body, the things around me, then there's a sense that that things will be okay. You know, and Virgo has a tendency to worry about there being problems, worry about things not being right, worrying about not getting it right and doing it wrong. But this idea of this like cleaning and organizing, that it gets so tiresome seeing so many memes and caricatures of Virgo as, you know, just, you know, over cleaning the house or something like that. Here's the thing, the whole idea with Virgo, the idea of purity, it's not about getting rid of something that's dirty. It's about getting down to the pure essence of something. And with Virgo, it's getting an accurate sense of who and what we really are, the essence of who we are. So all kinds of filtration and distillation processes are very Virgoan in nature. They get down to the pure essence of something. I use the example of water here. Purified water is just making the water more purely what it is. We focus oftentimes on getting the dirty things out of it, but purification, getting down to the essence of who we are, I'm going to use an example, like there's pure dirt and it's dirty, right? But that's pure. So with ourselves, we want to be careful in Virgo type energy and phases and all kinds of things with Virgo, that we don't rip out the stuff that's genuine to us, just because we somehow view it as being shadowy, negative, dirty, unappealing, whatever. You want to really get in there and figure out what is me, right? Ultimately, if you're working with a lot of Virgo in your chart, you're really trying to come to an accurate sense of who you are. And that takes stripping off layers of things. In the body, Virgo is associated with the small intestine. And with the small intestines, this is where literally the body makes a decision of what do we keep for nutrients and absorb, and what do we release through the elimination process. So this idea of discrimination in the healthiest sense of the word here, not discriminating against people or things, but being discriminating and choosing what belongs, what doesn't belong, right? Virgo can get really bogged down in just being busy, doing a lot of things. Doing a lot of things doesn't get to the point of Virgo. It's picking the quote unquote right things, the right things for you. So Virgo also is about getting focus, choosing what that thing is you want to hone in on and work at. Because not everything is worth making better. Not everything needs to be made better, right? This is another piece here with Virgo where it's really important to keep the balance of the polarity. I guess I'm already going to the polarity, so we'll talk a little bit about Pisces now. So Virgo very much sees the imperfections in things. And one of its greatest gifts is finding the little things that are off just a little bit and giving them a little tweak so that everything works better. Think about a great holistic practitioner. Think about maybe your naturopath, someone who can figure out that one little thing that just needs a little bit of adjusting, and all of a sudden the whole thing works better. Virgo's really good at that. It's just that it can turn that critical analysis in directions that aren't healthy. It can, and as much as any of us have experienced this energy from outside, I promise you that anybody who's doing that to anything or anybody outside of them, they're doing it multifold to themselves. Virgo's not easy energy to work with. And actually, before I move to the Pisces polarity point, let me share this piece. In Dane Ruggiere's book, An Astrological Triptych, he talks about each sign is given, one gift of the spirit to each sign, and given according to its needs. And for Virgo, he talks about the gift being tolerance. And this is not tolerance in the sense of tolerating someone else's behavior or, tolerating certain things outside of ourselves. What this tolerance means is the ability to stay and withstand literally evolution as it's happening in your human self, literally as it's happening in your being, to tolerate yourself and life as it's changing. Because here's the thing, like all these refinements and adjustments, all this getting ready for the next thing, think back to adolescence when what it felt like in your body when your hormones were really going crazy, or if you're going through, perimenopause or menopause, same thing, right? These times when like things feel crazy. It takes tolerance to stay through evolution happening. And man, Virgo is sensitive. My teacher Laura Nalbandian used to say that Virgo is like a raw nerve ending. It may not always let you know, it's not necessarily going to sit and get all emotional about it like a Cancer might, but it's very sensitive. It's ruled by Mercury traditionally, it's associated with the nervous system. So this heightened sensitivity to things. So this idea of tolerance, can I stay while I'm changing? Like really changing, because I feel like in Virgo, we're always changing, all of us all the time, but that transition from the lower hemisphere to the upper hemisphere, that transition from Leo to Libra, it's a big leap. And we have to work a lot of stuff out. We got to figure out what we've taken on that doesn't belong, We have to figure out what we have to let go to actually be, you know, a healthy, functioning, happy, contributing member of society in a meaningful way. We have to let go of sometimes of like our childish attachments to things. And then on top of that, we have to let go how we've overdone Virgo, how we've over responded to it. And we've got ourselves on a hamster wheel, thinking we're getting lots of things done and going nowhere. So I just want to say that this is a not easy energy, but it's so meaningful. And someone who has deeply embodied their Virgo, not only are they oftentimes amazing at healing or working with their hands, making beautiful things, you know, out of the material earth realm, working with nature, having a knack for, you know, herbalism and plants and animals and all these things of nature, but they are, in a sense, they're self-possessed, meaning that whole idea of the virgin with Virgo, it's being whole unto myself, not needing something outside. That Libra is going to come next, but you have to kind of first get to a place where you can complete yourself, you know, like fill yourself, feel your own container. And I know I talked about Cancer as being the formation of the identity. In so many ways, I feel that Virgo is like the human body. It's like the sanctuary or the church or the cathedral or you know, whatever word you like for this, of where spirit lives, you know. So the combination of Pisces and Virgo, which is really what just one spectrum of energy, is spirit in form, spirit in matter, right? In Virgo, we are the church. You know, we're holding our spirit in that space. So there's a beauty in that. There's a mystical nature to Virgo, and I don't think that people value or see that often enough. They see how good, you know, those of us with strong Virgo energy, you know, we're good at getting the work done. Maybe we don't miss the details, but they sometimes don't see that inner process, because the more and more that you get down to the pure essence of what you are, that is really what we're here to do. And that is the key to everything that comes after, you know, in the objective realm of consciousness, where you really are interacting consciously with others, with partners, with life, with the whole cosmos, you know, all of it. Yeah. Okay, before I move on to the polarity point, one more thing. So oftentimes we think of Virgo as just being super, super organized or super focused, a super hard worker. Not every Virgo is that way. Virgo energy doesn't always show up that way. The thing about Virgo is there's such a desire to do it right, and there's such a pre-programmed like perception or filter of seeing things as criticism, that sometimes with Virgo, if it doesn't feel like it could do it perfectly, if it doesn't feel like it could really just do it good, it just won't do it at all. So that can leave things in a mess. And if you talk to most Virgos, they at least, even if they aren't, you know, letting their life go to mess because of it, they'll understand that sentiment. Like they'll get that feeling that it needs to be perfect. Like anything less than perfect isn't good enough. So that feeling of, well, why do it at all if I won't get it right? That can be a pitfall here too. So with the polarity point of Pisces, this is where we interweave. I can make it better. I can build it better. I can improve upon it with it's perfect as it is and nothing needs to be done. Because that's the Pisces. That's the Pisces place. The Pisces place that there's no separate thing anyway. And everything's perfect as it is. There's allowance and acceptance in Pisces of what is. When I think about love, I like to use love as an example here. So If I fall in love with someone, but I'm just looking to how maybe I can help them be better, or how maybe with a little bit of time they might get better, or I can see how they have the potential and that better side might come out, or they might develop that talent or might do that thing. That is much more of a Virgo type of approach, almost like making it like an improvement project. And as people, it hurts to be seen that way, right? We want to be loved for who we are and who we are right now. So a Pisces approach to love would be, I fall in love with someone as they are. I may not like all of it. I might even wish that at times something was different, but I accept that person as they are. I love them as they are, and I am not waiting for a change, right? I'm choosing as it is now. So you can see how in this one continuum of Pisces Virgo energy, you need both. You need to know when to let go and allow as is, and when to know when, whoa, this really could be better. And I'm really good at making this thing better. So let me step in and make it better. But it's not easy navigating between the two. I feel like that polarity point, it's the difference between gripping on to control with the Virgo side and Pisces, oh, just let it all go. Don't worry about any of it. We can see how going too far off either side is an issue. But somewhere in the middle is this perfect partnership between spirit and flesh. It's this beautiful expression of spirit in a way that people can see and know it and feel it. Like now, in a tangible way. And there's nothing wrong with making that, doing things in the material world to make that better, right? Like if my body is a church, why be great to wash the windows, and make it brighter. But at the same time, we want to know which parts are just pure and true as they are, and to not try to poke into them. So again, it kind of comes down to this idea of discrimination, of picking and choosing. So I think with Virgo, trying to think if there's anything else in particular that I want to say about Virgo. It's funny, I'll share a personal story. Well, just a personal, I don't know. And in general, I've been in some form of some supervisory work for my whole life. So since I was 18 and now I'm 46, I've had some role of leadership somehow. And generally over some type of process that involves auditing. So that's a whole different conversation. Even now working as resident astrologer and lead writer for Sage Goddess, big part of my job is to review and edit, copy, to review and edit content and to audit things to make sure that they're, good to go on the technical end as well through WordPress. So I'm still doing it. It's funny, like shifted out of one thing to another, but still doing that. But my point in sharing this story is this. For a while, I was like, okay, I really want to look for employees. I think more Virgo people are going to be the answer because they're not going to make mistakes and, and they're going to get it. They're going to catch all those details. And I'm not saying that they don't, but my experience is that those individuals, and I've had a number of them, they didn't catch the most details. And I'm not here to say why that is. I also one of my bosses is a Virgo, and he's amazing at keeping all the details together. He keeps the ship running, and he does an amazing job. But I haven't always found Virgo to always be the one that does that. And so I just offer that in the sense that we tend to think about pigeonholing things a lot. We make assumptions about things. And so that has just given me pause to think about what I really think about Virgo and maybe what the best gifts of Virgo are. There's a paralysis that can come from over analyzing things and And it doesn't always help us to get things, quote unquote, right when we're so stuck in the weeds. And sometimes that Virgo can be overthinking so much that it's so tight. It's like a tight, the mind is tight, the brain is tight, right? The nervous system is tight. And when things are too tight, we miss what's right in front of us. So Pisces helps us relax in that sense, helps us to know when to let it go. And with Virgo too, it's easy sometimes to just feel like it's our responsibility to do the work. And so sometimes then Virgo ends up in a lot of positions of servitude, just little things. Like you could even just be like hanging out for dinner somewhere and they're the ones, washing the dishes, or, they're the one who always steps up, to clean up something when it spills or whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with doing that if you genuinely want to do it. But what's important here is remembering that Virgo is about getting down to the pure essence of who you are. If being the person that gets up and cleans up the dirt, especially dirt that somebody else spilled somewhere, if that doesn't feel pure to your essence, then that's worth a negotiation within yourself and with the people in your life. The work of Virgo isn't about keeping everything ship shape and holding down the fort. The work of Virgo ultimately is manifesting the self in the most pure, useful way. And that's going to be different for everybody. Okay. Well, I think I've done enough on Virgo today. And I can't think of anything else particularly about Pisces to add as the polarity point. So that being said, thanks again for joining me, whatever time and space that you are. I'm going to continue until I get through the whole zodiac here. So join me again next time for Libra. Take care.